for one thing, I can most certainly say to you beyond any question, doubt, or dispute that change, or whatever you want to refer to it as, there's something most certainly that's different in the air. And folks are pretty much tired of information that's being retreaded or reworded differently and covered over and over and over again. And effectively, um, there are folks who are having various gatherings, meetings, and assemblies and functions, and folks and the audiences are going in on them. I mean, they are. You guys see? I mean, seriously, they are really giving these folks the business. And the reason as to why they're saying to these folks, in effect, look, you guys are pretty good. You're pretty good at presenting what is the problem or what's going on, but you offer no particular viable solutions. And folks are tired of hearing about what's going on. They can find the information out. It's the information age. They can find out all types of information. What they're looking for is cohesive, uh, logical solutions, and not from an individual perspective, but from a collective perspective. And by and large, uh, when they go to these assemblies and things, they're not seeing that information being presented, and as a consequence, folks either walk out or they become boisterous. And either one of those is not a good situation for the folks who's putting on the presentations, which means that the folks who are doing these presentations need to basically step it up, and they're not keeping pace with where our folks are in mass. Folks are generally, they are looking for a viable solution, whether they elaborate on particular issues, whether they even articulate on particular issues, another story, but essentially they are in fact looking for viable solutions. They're not quite sure what it is, but they recognize it when they see it or when they hear it. And they'll say, that makes sense to me. Let me go in on that a little further and see what's really good. And if I find something that's viable and pliable, I will get with that and make it work to my family's advantage. That's where folks are. And now, with the foreign venues all around the place having all these massive economic problems, like of huge proportions, epic proportions in the eyes of many, uh, folks don't want to know about what was happening in 500 Earth years from today's date. They don't want to know about that. What they want to know is what's happening with things going forward. That's all that they really care about. That's what's real for them. That's tangible, up in their face, present right now. And you really can't blame folks for taking that type of position or having that type of perspective. And I always ask folks, look, at the end of the day, what do you think is most relevant and most potent in terms of where you want to see things in your life and that of your offspring? And folks like yourself, y'all know what you want, you know what you need, and you make it plain. And when you're not seeing it from those who purport themselves to be your quote-unquote leaders, or those who you acknowledge and accept as your leaders, well then, at that particular point, you folks tend to do what you always do. Vote with your feet and step off. And who can fault you for that? No one can blame you for that. But when folks say, listen, I'm looking for a viable solution, provide me with one, they don't mean 50 years from now. They don't mean 20 Earth years from now. They mean right now. Right here, right now. And so, what we do within the Amexem-Moor-Empire jurisdiction is we make it plain what we must do and the why behind what we do. And we share with folks, listen, this is how we proceed. This is why we proceed in the manner that we do. We're not here to convince anyone. We're not here to convince you. We just make it plain to you and all of our guests and anyone else in our venue or those in our sphere of influence. This is how we proceed, and this is why. Either it's something that resonates with you or it doesn't. And if it does, you find your way in. And if it doesn't, you find your way to excuse yourself or just observe from afar. Whatever folks tend to do or choose to do, hey, we respect that. That's where they're at, and that's where they're at. We're not here to convince anyone to do anything. We don't ask folks to accept any particular interpretation of things that we provide them. We tell them, this is what it is, this is where you can go find it. And after that, it's all up on them. But if there's issues that's dead serious, we let them know. We let it be known. Look, we told you, your blood's off our hands. What you do is what you do. You're grown folks. I don't see what's so complicated about it. And so we make it plain to folks. If you're looking for a viable option, a viable alternative to that foreign venue madness, if you're serious about doing something for yourself, well, we are already there. And a lot of folks will either match what we're doing, play catch up, which makes no sense to me for other reasons that I won't go into right now. But they have to figure out for themselves, look, it's not just having concepts on the drawing board. There are several logistical things that you got to contend with that you only get by actually doing things and having the experience in particular things. It's easy to read something in a book. That's one thing. But reading something in a book and actually engaging in it successfully on a repeated fashion, sustained fashion, that's a separate thing altogether entirely. And so, reinventing the wheel doesn't help you. You should take a look at those who already are operational underway with particular things. And if ego is not in the way, then that shouldn't be a problem. But that's another story for another time, too.